Hi everybody, this is Craig Tanner for The Mindful Eye and the Daily Critique. Today's image was submitted by Paul, who is an advanced photographer from Colorado. Paul says that he created this image for an assignment for his camera club. The name of the assignment was Creative Grab Bag, and each person that wanted to participate was given a random object. He received a coil telephone cord. He gave it to his grandson to use to pull the dump truck that you see in the picture. Paul says he shot about 40 images as he ran alongside his grandson. He shot this with a Nikon D200 28-105 zoom lens, and exposure information is ISO 160 and f5 at 1/250th of a second. One other thing Paul said in the backstory is he originally thought about converting this to black and white, but he liked the strength of the green and yellow colors, so he stayed with a color photo. One of the first things that I'll say about this image is I think there's a lot of creative potential in doing a creative grab bag assignment. In other words, letting somebody else maybe just fill up a bag with objects and to choose them at random, and then to maybe potentially do a whole portfolio of images on the random object. One of the great things about this kind of an assignment is that it just gives us permission to start photographing. So much of the time in our creative process we get stuck at the very beginning. We get into a habit of saying no. As photographers, our work is sort of experientially based, and we can go out and look for the perfect conditions for great photographs, and when you do that, you get into a habit of mainly rejecting the reality that's around you. So much of our block becomes in the very beginning of our process, where we in a real extreme way limit what we're willing to photograph. The neat thing about an assignment like this, just a random object, is it gets you past what can be that very initial high hurdle. So I love the idea of this assignment. Something you might want to try for yourself. The other thing that I like about the image is the idea of taking the object and then combining it with some other ideas. The idea of a portrait and another object. The concept of sort of a synergy of things and becoming more creative by getting away from the idea of breaking everything down into parts or separating everything and looking at the way that different things might come together. Real powerful idea here. Very simple image, very graphic, the way Paul has worked with the background. Really, in a lot of ways, helps the main subject to pop out. And I'm really enjoying just the energy in terms of the gesture of his grandson here. At this particular moment, you get a real strong sense of working and pulling. There's several different things that I think about when I think about perfect world improvement for this image. Some are variations, some have to do with the image itself. I personally like the image better in black and white, since that's one of the things that Paul mentioned. I wanted to just go into channels and look at this image in monochrome in the different channels. There's red, there's green, and there's blue. For me, the red and both the blues, really extreme black and white conversion, but both of these in the red and blue channel, I feel like bring the idea of the portrait subject and the work that's being done for it in a much more powerful way. Yellow and green are colors that are close together on the color wheel. Yellow is a boundless color and has a lot of power, and yellow is connected to the main subjects here, but because it's close to green, it starts to combine with green here, and there's quite a bit of yellow that you can see in the green and the brighter areas of the green grass. There's a lot of yellow in there, and that starts to bring the main subject of the grandson in the truck together with the background. And the other thing that I'm constantly thinking about, color is so complex. It's not just the idea of the way colors relate to each other. You know, if we wanted to talk about opposite colors, complementary colors, or harmony of color, analogous colors, things like that. Colors come with emotional baggage. And the idea of yellow-green, particularly in images that are connected to people, those tend to be colors that can work against a feeling of calm or peace or strength. A lot of times I will avoid yellow-green as a dominating color idea in photographs of people. We think about the idea of jaundice, things that are pushing towards yellow-green, potentially being spoiled, even going to the extreme and thinking of gangrene. Just something to think about, something I really encourage you in the context of today's critique to ask yourself questions about the psychological baggage that colors carry and the psychological weight of colors. I don't like the yellow-green combo here, and I don't like how much the green is coming forward in the portrait and how it connects to the yellow. And so for me, I definitely would have considered one of the black and white conversions or some version of a black and white conversion, and actually I really love, I don't typically like the blue channel, and I really like that here. Something else to think about here is just the idea of the inherent visual weight inside of the frame before we even get started with putting subjects in it. And one of the things that we know in the West is that we read from left to right. We like to start at the top left and end up at the bottom right. There's a natural sense of moving in this direction before we put anything in the frame. And if we want to push the idea of work, then going against the natural movement might make the work seem more powerful as an idea. Not only that, if we were to flip this image, so let's just go ahead and do it. Go to Image, Rotation, Flip Canvas Horizontal. If we flip the image, something else happens. In addition to pushing against the natural movement, which I think helps to create more tension and pushes the idea of work being done, we like to start high and move on a diagonal going to low. And having this negative space over here on the right hand side to me feels a lot more natural than if we flip the image back and the viewer is sort of confronted with just this blank negative space up here, which is where you want to start, and then you essentially, instead of being able to move in a natural direction visually, you have to come over to the middle of the page at the top and then move back down to the truck. And so you start here, but then you pulled over here. To me, there's less of a natural movement. If we're going for overall an idea of something that's visually unified and pleasing, I think when we flip the image that we get the best of two worlds. We get the tension of moving against the left to right, which works really well here considering the concept of work. But from a visual standpoint, we get something that's potentially more natural, which is starting high on the left and then moving down to the subject here, and then these negative space areas can potentially play out a little bit better. One other thing that I would say about this image is that I think we could push some other ideas to give it more dimension. One being a more multi-dimensional quality of light. Right now this looks like sort of an overcast day where everything's in the shade, and it sure would be neat, in my opinion, to see some side light or maybe some version of backlight, something to make the lighting multi-dimensional. And the other thing that I'd love to see here in terms of a variation, if you want to push the idea of sort of the worker as a hero, is very low to high camera position. So get down so low that the little boy maybe is separating against the sky. The truck looks bigger, the boy looks heroic, the grandson looks heroic. So much of the time with people that are doing something like work, an extreme low to high camera position can add quite a bit of psychological impact to the image. Having said all that, I love the way that Paul has worked the concept here. I love the simplicity of this image, simplifying the background. Absolutely love the moment and the gesture with a grandson to suggest your work. Really neat image. I want to say a big thank you to Paul for sharing this image with us on The Mindful Eye, and hope to see you again real soon on The Mindful Eye's Daily Critique.